Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about a subclass of the rogue, the Inquisitive Rogue, right out of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Inquisitive rogues are detectives. There's no other real way to say it. Their entire idea is that they are based on insight and scanning environments and enemies, and their entire deal is literally looking for detail. They are an interesting class to be sure, but how do they stack up mechanically? Let's find out. First of all, at level 3, you get 3 different powers, which is pretty nice. First of all, you get the Ear for Deceit power. Anytime you're making an insight check to tell if someone is lying, you can treat any roll that is lower than an 8 as an 8. So it's impossible to botch that roll. If you've got proficiency or expertise in insight, this means that you're going to be rolling pretty high on it all the time. It's going to be hard to lie to you. Insight is not a lie detector necessarily, but a lot of DMs treat it as such, and therefore this is a powerful ability, and I give it an 8 out of 10. Then you also get the Eye for Detail power. When you are making perception and investigation checks, you can do so as a bonus action. Not sure the purpose of this one. Normally, action economy doesn't really matter that much outside of combat. It's mostly for combat purposes why you'd care if something was a bonus action. And perception and investigation isn't normally done in combat. It can be. There are certainly moments that it matters, but it's pretty rare. And I would say that this power doesn't help you outside of combat at all. So, 5 out of 10. It doesn't do really what you're thinking it'll do, because you can do perception investigation checks ad nauseum outside of combat. But then the best power you get at this level is Insightful Fighting. As a bonus action, you scan an enemy, you look them over, make an insight check, versus a deception check on their part. If you succeed versus their roll, you then, for the next minute, can use your sneak attack against that creature without advantage, or without allies being close. You can just use it whenever you want, as long as you don't have disadvantage on the roll. This means that you can reliably pick a target and just focus on them and get your sneak attack in regular combat, which is really nice. A way to power up your sneak attack without advantage. Can't beat that. And I say this power is a 9 out of 10, for sure. Then at level 9, rogues get the next feature for their subclass, and the Inquisitive gets the Steady Eye feature, where you have advantage on perception and investigation checks if you move half your speed. Now, this basically means that this is what the Eye for Detail was trying to do, was to power up investigation and perception checks. The difference is just that this gives you essentially permanent advantage on these checks. Because again, you're not using these checks in combat very often. Like, that's really rare. Outside of combat, you're not going to be moving your full speed most of the time because you don't need to. So this ability just gives you advantage on perception and investigation checks effectively permanently. Whenever you need to do one of these two checks, you're going to have advantage on it. That's what matters the most. And that is a very nice buff to your investigative abilities. So 9 out of 10 for that. Then at level 13, you get Unerring Eye. A few times per day, equal to your wisdom modifier, you can use an action to detect the presence of illusions or shape changers. So creatures that have altered their shape, or there's an illusion nearby, you can tell that there's something nearby. The problem is you can't tell what. You can tell if there's an illusion within 30 feet of you. That's what this ability does. The only reason I could see this come in handy is if you are in a situation that just seems off. Something seems weird. Someone is not acting how they should. Something doesn't look like it should. Sure, go ahead and use Unerring Eye, and you're like, oh, something's off. Investigate the room after that. I mean, you could just investigate. That is one thing you could do. It might come in handy if you think you're dealing with someone who's disguised or illusion magic disguised. It doesn't work on regular disguises, just illusions or shape changers. So 6 out of 10. Very rarely will this come up, and when it does, it'll be real nice, but it's still flawed in the respect that you don't get any information about what's tricking you. Then finally, at level 17, the capstone feature for the subclass, Eye for Weakness. When you're fighting your creature that you've used your insightful fighting on, so you've scanned them and you know their weakness, so you can use your sneak attack against them anytime you like, you get to add 3d6 to that sneak attack. At this point, the sneak attack is already, 8 or 9d6? Adding another 3d6 to that, even better. Like, this makes the Inquisitive rogue do a lot more damage with their sneak attack than most other rogues will. And this insightful fighting feature means they don't even have to be sneaking or have advantage to do it. They can just do it every combat. So 9 out of 10 for extra damage. Overall, I give the Inquisitive rogue an 8 out of 10. There are some weird ones in here. That eye for detail and that unerring eye power, they seem a little bit like, I don't know exactly what they were going for here. Maybe in some games you need to make perception checks to detect enemy weaknesses or investigation checks in the middle of combat. It feels unnecessary, but maybe some people play their games that way. And if you do, then the stock rises quite a bit. But the way I play D&D, these checks happen outside of combat usually. So overall, an 8 out of 10. That insightful fighting is going to come in handy time and time again. So if you're really trying to just be really good at investigation and have a great way to use your sneak attack, go for this one. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.